Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa, the mother-daughter travel team and publishers of Big Blend magazines. Of course, there's Big Blend Radio and TV magazine and our Parks and Travel magazine. You can check it all out at BigBlendMagazines.com. Today's show, we're chatting with Bonnie S. Hirst about her new memoir. It's called Test of Faith: Surviving My Daughter's Life Sentence. And it is out now through She Writes Press. You can get on Amazon, all those places. Go to your bookstore, independent ones especially. But you can go right to her website, which is BonnieSHirst.com. I'm going to spell it out because there's all kinds of ways you can spell Bonnie Hirst. And it's Bonnie, B-O-N-N-I-E, and then S for the initial, and then Hirst is H-I-R-S-T. So welcome to the show. How are you, Bonnie?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
And I heard you're just down the road from us. We had no idea.
Oh,
It's
strange,
so
funny.
It is amazing. It's amazing. And, you know, your story, I really, number one, appreciate you sharing the story. I mean, this is a difficult thing. I think most moms just would never, you know, that's unbelievable to have your daughter in jail. Like, that's a very, very difficult thing to go through. And so we really appreciate that you wrote your story and then you're sharing that with everybody. I mean, even reading it, I remember in the beginning going, oh my gosh, and how this happens, because the first thing you want to do is it's denial, right? That it's not happening.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And you were into writing before you wrote the memoir. So this was kind of a return for you.
It was, yes. I had written some romance novels probably 35 years before and never got them published. I had several rejection letters. But then life happens and you're raising kids and writing got put on the back shelf. So when I started this again, it was a whole different ballgame. You know, you don't use typewriters now like we used to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And good then having to be like, this is a memoir, you know, and it's interesting because didn't your daughter Lacey also read the memoir and like kind of help you edit and proof it?
Yes, she did. Yes, she
Wow.
did. Yeah, she was a big help actually on this. Something like in the first chapter, I explained something about the sheriffs or the people who are going to arrest her, their badges, and I had them as gold, and she says no, they're silver, or vice versa. I don't remember which way it was, but she would know what they are because she's around guards and prison officials all the time, so she would know what color they were supposed to be. Just little details that you really wouldn't even think about.
And then what about her story, being able to tell her story as well as yours through there? Was she okay with that, with you, telling the story?
At first, well, after she was sentenced and for life in prison without parole.
Yeah, different than jail. I should have said prison.
Yes.
I just had a hard time even saying that. Honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. After she was sent to prison, I fell apart like any mother would. So she was, for about 2 years or at least a year, I was a total basket case. So when she found out I was writing this and that she understood that it was helping me deal with it all, she was like, oh, Mom, I'm so glad. So that was not the reaction I expected, but it was a true blessing that she was on board with me. So that was a good thing.
I think it feels good to be able to explain something that happens to you that doesn't happen to everybody, that is so out of the box, like it's just so far out there that it needs explanation. And I think having the opportunity or the help of somebody like yourself helping explain what it's like and what happened, I think that would mean a great deal. Mm-hmm. I really do. I think it's important what you've done is explaining.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The whole process, I think, because
I
think it's important for moms and dads and parents, and because you think about every person in prison or in jail for that matter, or juvenile, detention centers, they have a parent somewhere who's going through this. So I think it reaches so many people, and it was well done on the writing too. I was like, I really felt your honesty, and I just was like, okay, man, I'm going to be a very good girl. Because I could imagine, and because Nancy and I are very, very close. And I mean, obviously we travel together, we work together, we hike together, and we have our moments as mothers and daughters do. But I can
Really?
understand. They're really good. We had one right before your conversation. They're really good.
Yeah.
But there's that. I think what's really amazing is this relationship you've continued with Lacey, because I think that's a very it's hard. That's a difficult thing to overcome together, yet you're still communicating. And her being part of the book process, was that part of helping unify even further during this kind of process and this kind of life-changing event?
Yeah, I would hope so. It was difficult for her to reread or for her to even realize that what her father and I went through. I mean, you keep it from your kids. They don't realize what tears you up.
Mm-hmm.
So for her to read that originally, I mean, from the very first drafts, I mean, there were plenty of drafts, and there was some stuff that didn't get in the final book, which tore her apart, that you just don't realize that, something you're living and your kids, you keep it from them so that they don't see that maybe mom and dad are not having the best day together.
Right.
Maybe we're not dealing with the fallout the way we should. So that's difficult for any daughter, let alone one that can't do anything about it, to read about.
And I don't think there is any the way you should, because
it's so personal.
It's very personal, and I can imagine there's anger and these kinds of things that come through too. I mean, there's always that cycle. It's like part of grief.
Shock, denial, anger, just sadness. I mean, there's so many ways to react to different things that happen to people in life, and nobody reacts the same. Not really.
We've all been through something.
Exactly.
Yeah. And kayaking helps, right? See, this is
definitely.
We do our thing. We even have a 1-hour walk
that.
Facebook group in our Big Blend community social site. We encourage people. We're actually having a thing about it. How many hours can we all walk in 2020? Let's do 2020 hours together. The kayaking is part of it too, because there's something very calming about the water. And this Nancy and I, our first kayaking experiences were in Louisiana in the bayous with snakes and gators and stuff, which was fun.
So cool.
And
so cool.
And then here in Yuma, Arizona, where we are today, there's a beautiful Colorado River. We've canoed, which that really feels like you're going to go in. But I know you spent time in Washington State too. So this kayaking thing, because it's like you could capsize kind of thing, so there's that part of like, ooh, anything could happen, but there's an amazing thing about being on the water and calm and being with nature. I don't know, but anything could happen.
When you settle down into that kayak and become one with the water, it's just there's nothing like it. It just soothes everything.
So cool. You feel like one of those birds, and you're just floating along there.
Yeah.
And they look at you and you look at them and they're like, wow, you're a big bird.
Don't eat me. The vultures are out here right now. I'm just saying. I'm still here. Don't do that. But yeah, when you kayak, does that help you in regards to processing when you were writing? Did kayaking help at all?
It does. I actually wrote quite a bit of it in my kayak. As long as it was calm. You can't do it when the water's lapping at you. But I would go out and I would just lose myself and float from one end of the lake. It's an irrigation lake, so it's a really long lake. And eventually the current would take you very slowly to the other end, and then I'd have to kayak back. But you could just float forever and not have anybody bother you. And I got a lot of writing done out there in peace and quiet.
And to have now written your memoir, do you find like now, are you going to go back into more writing? Would you do it fiction, nonfiction? I mean, because this is also a therapy process, writing. I mean, this is 10 years later, but I mean, she's in there for a very long time now. And so there's that. I mean, so where do you see from now?
I think I was guided to write this, to not just help me, but to help other people in this situation.
Mm.
And I don't know as though I have it in me to write another one, especially memoir.
Yeah, that's so rough. I mean, that's just because you're
Yeah.
honest, and I really, really respect those who write a memoir, especially when it's something important. You share knowledge, you wake
Hmm.
us up, but you're so honest, and I think that is so hard. Like fiction, you can go, okay, I'm going to hide it behind this one, or no, this wasn't me, this
Mm.
was them. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think it's a very soul-bearing process. So that's why I say I really respect what you've done. But maybe write fiction. Would you write a romance novel now?
Yeah, I
Romance in a
don't know.
kayak.
There you
Mhm.
go. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. I've been reading a lot of different fiction lately just because it lightens the mood.
yeah,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good fiction writers out there. So I don't know. It'd be
yeah,
kind of fun to be able to pick your ending, don't you think?
yeah. I think so.
Oh
I think
yeah.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're a good writer. Because you get to the point, yet you have the emotion in there. It's so I hope you continue writing, and yeah, maybe some fiction would be good. Some historical fiction
Hmm.
or something with the because you can
Yeah,
have some bodice rippers in there too. You
there
know,
you go.
there's always that in there. But
Oh,
I think what's very important about what you wrote, number one, is the dynamics of a small town.
yeah.
And that I think just like my blood boiled when I was reading about how everything went down. And
Mm.
the night, the day of like, okay, this is going on, we can trust so and so, and you really can't, because who knows what and where. The whole legal system and trusting
Hmm.
people. And then because you're a very positive person, and I'm, Nancy and I are like that. We go back and forth on our personalities.
Well.
Just that, yeah, you're trusting in people. Nancy's always like, no. And I'm like,
Mm-mm.
yes. And then no. And
Mm.
now I'm learning,
Mm.
through a series of events, So that part I think is really important to talk about. Getting lawyers sooner than later would have helped, and things like that. Just getting the
Yeah.
help you need.
All the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also a hard part to write, right? Yeah.
That is, to point
But
that
I mean,
finger
it's
back at yourself, what did I do wrong? How come I didn't do these things? That's,
They don't teach
well,
you that in
when
school.
when things like that, like these big things happen. I mean, this is a big thing,
hmm
and when things that you never would have expected happen, that it's not like you were, I'm sure when your mom raised you, she didn't say, oh, by the way, if your daughter gets in trouble and ends up in jail, you need to do this and that.
yeah, yeah.
That's sort of way out there in left field. So
Hmm.
when something as unexpected like this happens, who's really expected to know exactly what to do and when to do it?
Hmm.
So it is just one of those things that's why I think what you've done in writing a book is so important, because other people who may find themselves in similar situations will have something to look at and feel better that they also they didn't know what to do either.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. So when moms read this, have you had because this has been out since the fall of 2019, have you had, response back to you from other
Oh,
moms in the same situation?
I have had tremendous response back.
Mm.
I found several people had private messaged me to tell me that thank you for writing this and bringing it out into the open, because unbeknownst to me, they had a child in prison, or they have a
Wow.
brother in prison or whatever. So there's
Wow.
kind of a kinship there too. And
Mm.
that's, they were like, thank you for saying what you said, because that's what I was feeling and I couldn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
so that was kind of cool.
Hmm. And then
Yeah.
tips for family, loved ones, anyone going into jail or prison at the time. Any tips for them now, from like hindsight? Number one, read the book, because you'll get a lot out of that. I'm just going to say that, because
Yeah.
you go through I think what a lot of people are feeling and go through, test of faith again, everyone surviving my daughter's life sentence. Anyone going through that, especially now at the beginning stages, what would you like to say to them?
Oh, bolster up your faith because you're going to need it.
Mm.
Try to be there for them as much as possible. There's a lot of money involved actually in having someone either in jail or in prison.
Mm.
You need to get some money onto their books so that they can buy mail or pencils or stamps,
Oh, wow.
envelopes, that type
Yeah.
of things that we don't even think about.
Yeah.
They're provided a minimal of stuff. But those are kind of extras. Or if you can, depending on the situation, you can get them books or a Bible. A Bible is always welcomed. There's certain criteria of books that you can take into the prison or that you can mail to the prison or the jail, but a Bible always goes through. So that's one thing that it can at least help out a little bit.
Do you ever watch these programs like Orange is the New Black or these series, Lock Up and things like that?
I
I
haven't.
just wondered if you, yeah.
I read the book Orange is the New Black, but I asked my daughter what she thought about that, and she says, "Yeah, we just don't watch it in here."
Yeah, I just wondered how close to the truth they are, or if they're so far from the truth that it's laughable, or is it just? I understand why somebody in prison wouldn't want to watch it because that's kind of depressing. But
and it creates drama. You don't need any more drama. There's plenty there already.
Yeah.
So,
well, one thing you talk about too is what to talk about, and when you have a close friend and then they're diagnosed with cancer, or hey, you've got a year to live, it's like, oh, what do I do now? What do I say? How do I say the right thing? And you want to hide from things, and it's kind of similar in that way. You talk about that, hey, we're going, we're going on vacation. you have like a guilt trip on that.
You do. That's really hard. Relatives and friends who would really like to write to her hesitate because it's like, oh, but our lives are going really good out here and we're doing this, this, and this. And they don't want to share that with her and make her feel bad. And I understand that because I was the same way when first was. I kept what I wanted to say. I couldn't sugarcoat it. I couldn't non-sugarcoat it. So you tread on water a little bit, but I've learned over the past 10 years that she can figure it all out. She always knows if I'm hiding something. So, best to be honest and set it right out there. And she's resilient. Yeah.
I would kind of think that she would probably most be happy that you're okay, rather than everything is always sad and
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. So
I think there's a thing too where you're visually, you need to be able to see beyond the four walls, or beyond the bars. Basically, you have to be able to see things to keep sanity. Because I'm personally, I just don't see how prisons help people. That's just me personally. I just don't. I don't really. That's just my own personal thing. I think more nature will help, and more, that kind of thing. It's like, so to me, the more people can have those visualizations, and the more fuel you can give to have, beautiful visualizations, the more peaceful they can be in a place that isn't peaceful.
Yes, definitely. We do that. I send her pictures of the lake from the cabin deck, things that she can look and see. She can see where my kayak is. She can look at the clouds or the sunsets that I send her pictures of, and she can visualize that. We're hoping that the current appeal will be granted and that she'll get out eventually,
Awesome.
So she can visualize and intention that, oh, I'm going to see that lake. I'm going to sit in that chair sometime. So that's a positive out of it.
I think you have to have that positive stuff out there, because it's, how do you mend and heal and move forward if you're not given that
right.
chance?
If there is no hope, you're just going to rot. That's all there is.
Well, and I think, knowing that when you do get out, and look forward to getting out, when you do get out, that things are normal out there. you almost wouldn't want to get out if everything on the outside's doom and gloom, you know.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to know that it's going to be a happy time, and I'm sure there's adjustments and all that it will be different again. But you know, it's a happy thing to think about, is getting out and things are normal on the outside as opposed to maybe what's going on the inside.
Yeah. How are the children?
They're doing very well. They're both adulting very well, is how I say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a whole other dynamic.
Yes, yes.
To
But
go
they've done really well, actually. They get to talk to their mom at least a couple times a week on the phone. There's
that's
such a thing as JPay email, and it's a prison email. Everything is monitored. But they
Sure.
can send pictures via that, or they can email her. So they stay in contact, so that's pretty good.
Oh, that's good. And then for you, that had been like really nice to be able to be with them.
Yes, yes. They were my saving grace. They're what pulled me out of the dumps and the depression and, hiding from everybody. And, when you've got teenagers or preteens, when they came to us, you have to put one foot in front of the other. You have to get up. You got to get them off to school. I mean, I'd go back to bed and pull the covers over my head when they left, but when they came home, I was back up again, So little by little, they were what saved me by trying to get back into the world.
And that also that point of like when you're the mom or a parent, no matter what gender, there's that I could have done more, I could have done this, I could have done that, but then now, I'm caring for the children now. Now you don't have time for that. You have to move forward instead of pushing you forward,
Yes, definitely.
And almost that's a healing power, I think, of that, and to keep them going, and that I think that's hard for kids too, to wonder, what mom and dad, this is a whole different thing, yet it happens more common than we think,
There's a lot of grandparents out there that are raising kids. Yeah, they're grandkids.
Yeah,
absolutely.
From all kinds of situations,
Exactly. I was half raised in my parents' home and half raised in my grandmother's home, depending on what was going down at the time. But, that's just how it can be sometimes for some people.
Right.
I think that's just part of life. So
I think so too. If there's a loving family member that can help out the grandkids, the kids, that's the way it should be.
Exactly. And I everybody's home situation is different. I learned that, just from my own family drama that was going on when I was in high school. There wasn't hardly at first anybody that I talked to that was going through anything even close to what I was going through. And then little by little, you'd start to learn about, this child over here has this going on, and this one has that on, and eventually you start to see, okay, everybody's having some kind of drama somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just how they talk about it or don't talk about it.
Right. And it's how you choose to deal with it too,
Exactly.
Do you choose to look on the bright side or try to find little blessings here and there? That's what nature did for me, is that it got me out and got me into my kayak. It got me appreciating the clouds, the ripples on the water, the frogs, the turtles, whatever. It was, that's what got me starting to see a few blessings in the midst.
And breathing. Yeah, you're breathing.
Yes.
You're breathing and realizing every breath is a miracle of life,
Yes.
And nature is so intricate. She has so many, like, just even looking at a leaf, you're like, how did this happen?
Yes.
And it's mathematically correct in this way and that way. It's like, like, okay, there's ways to go. And nature has those cycles, and death is part of it, and nasty parts of it. You're like, oh, wow, that hawk just tore up that bunny. And then you go, okay, but this is part of the cycle. But look, who do you root for? So I think it's interesting how nature really, nature is cool. And I think there is something about being outside and getting vitamin D. It's kind of like your organs are supporting your heart is an organ. And when we have heartache, it really hurts. Truly.
Yes.
So I think that's a good part of it as well. One thing too, moving forward, being in a small town, it's like gossip central, and then you have friends and people that will help, but how do you deal with that? Like the the people, because they're going back in, they'll bake you a cake and then go, well, you know what I mean?
It,
Do you
it,
ignore
it's
that?
it's been interesting. I received several private messages again of people who have read the book and said, "Oh my land, I'm not going to take a newspaper for granted ever again that they're saying the truth." So that's been kind of nice.
Yeah.
People who might have looked down their noses at us and said, "How in the world could that have happened?" Now they look at the other side of it and say, "Oh, well, maybe it didn't happen the way we believed it did."
Exactly.
So that's good. Small towns can be huge blessings, and they can be horrible if you're on the other side of
it's
it.
true. Yeah.
We were just fortunate that we had our bubble of friends that helped us through all of it, and they're still part of our lives. So that's pretty
awesome.
good.
That's really awesome. Well, that's a true friend,
Yes, definitely.
That's true friends.
Yeah.
Because
I think
it's easy to be a pseudo friend, but a really true friend, they're valuable.
Yes. Yeah.
the thing too, I just look at also there's a friendship, there's the emotions, but it's almost, you're saying, okay, make sure you have, give them money on the inside. They need that so they can do these things. And then there's a whole side of getting legal help all of a sudden, like financially, like how, I mean, that's a whole other deal. It's like navigating, it's like the medical system. Someone's sick and then it's not even the disease that's the worst, it's the medical system.
Right, the bills that are coming in.
The
Yeah.
bills, the insurance, the who does what, and all keeping track of everything. So does it feel that way too?
No, not really. We have been very fortunate in having enough money available to hire attorneys for the appellate, or for hiring the attorneys to represent her during trial. Just very fortunate.
Yeah, I just think that if you don't have that, I mean, I know you're business owners and industrious too, but when you think about those who don't have that, like I wonder where our systems are to help those who don't have that.
Yeah, they're failing. The
Wow.
systems are failing. Yeah.
Man. And then do you see any difference between corporate prisons and public, I don't know, is it public prisons that we have, government prison? I mean, private, the private versus, I mean, is that ever?
I don't really know that much about the two different ones. My daughter is in a state prison.
Oh, okay.
So I really don't know
the other side.
On that. Yeah. I just know that, the prison, whoever runs all of the vending machines or the food or anything else that's inside there, the clothing, they make a lot of money. Let's put it that way.
Oh, wow.
The contractors that supply the prison with all of their stuff. Yeah.
Huh.
Wow.
Well,
yep. There's always someone making money somewhere, right?
That's true.
Things there's I told you there were vultures out there. But hey, the world has to keep turning. So, money is part of that. But well, we really, really appreciate again, you writing. And I wanted to say that the front cover of your book is so perfect for the story, the heart with the barbed wire. And I'm like, yeah, because it is true. It's that feeling,
Thank you. I fell in love with that when my publisher gave me that idea. She Writes Press is wonderful, and Brooke Warner, who is the owner of She Writes Press, she puts out some beautiful covers. And this one, the colors, everything, it was just absolutely perfect. And even the inside, when the wavy barbed wires, or the barbed wire heart at the bottom of the inside pages, it was just, everything was magnifique,
Well, I think it you could feel it as soon as you saw the front cover. I'm like, oh, here it is. It's like, oh, my heart.
Yeah.
But I think it's just so, just for you to tell the story. I again, like I said in the beginning, Nancy and I both appreciate it, and I think maybe a lot of moms and dads out there too, and anybody who has a family member or a good friend going through something, You look at now too, with DNA testing, so many people have been, incarcerated for nothing.
Yes.
And coming
There's
out
a
and having
lot.
this, and that's the other part, I think, what's so important about communicating with your loved ones in prison, because they need to know what it's like on the outside. When people come out and they've been in there since like the 50s, they come out and it's like, what the hell happened to the
Oh,
country? We've got cell phones and we got all these
I mean,
things. You know what I mean? So there's
can you
that.
imagine? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I think, the other part that's so important about what you're doing in regards to the communication and, hey, yeah, we did this and that. But so when they do come out, that get back home, that they kind of, and their legs aren't so wobbly. They will be, but they won't be as wobbly. They're prepared a little bit.
Right. I mean, the internet has exploded. All of the Instagram and the Twitter and the Facebook. That's all totally exploded from when she was, a free person.
Right.
Yeah.
And oh wow, yeah. You think about it, and so they're limited to that, so she can't see that inside.
No, they don't have any access other than prison email.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember people think, oh, they got internet, so
Yeah, no.
No, it's not that way.
Well, I get if you watch Orange is the New Black, then you look and go, okay, they got internet, they got TV, they got this, they got that.
Well, she was in a really low minimum security. I think it was a federal prison too. So there might be something different there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, because what TV does and what reality is obviously a little bit different.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Again, you can go to Bonnie's website. It's bonnieshirst.com, and that's Bonnie, N-N-I-E-S, and then Hirst is H-I-R-S-T, bonnieshirst.com. And again, the memoir title is Test of Faith, Surviving My Daughter's Life Sentence. It's out now through She Writes Press. And we encourage you, again, go to Bonnie's website, go to Amazon, go to your independent bookstore and say, we want it. Support our bookstores as much as you can. And of course, we want to thank all of you for joining us here on Big Blend Radio. You can keep up with our different episodes. They air Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sundays, except for holidays. And that's bigblendradio.com. And we always love to play music for you, our audience, and especially our guests, and try and tie it together. And this song is from James Saunders. He's out of South Africa near Cape Town. And this song is called Wheel of Destiny. And you can keep up with James at jamessaundersmusician.com. So thank you so much, Bonnie.
Thank you. I appreciate being able to visit with you.
You too.
You're sinking sweet and slow beneath the horizon. I see you disappear, disappearing in the haze. You're sliding in and out of this dream, just a fleeting glimpse, never the same, never the same.
The story seldom has more than one part. like a curtain call that brings me to the fall. Just one look before I fade away. Fade away. 3, 2, 1.
What shooting stars may fall for these wishes heaped upon that shore, beneath the sea of memories. I'll find you setting free my wheel of destiny. Into the light.